fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got rid of the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up top!
Oh my god! Oh. Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get involved!
This is very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, here we go! Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
Good evening and welcome to another short track. This is Bristol Motor Speedway, hosting round 28 of the NASCAR iRacing series. And it is one of the great short tracks in the world, certainly in America. Half a mile and turns banked, incredibly steep, make it a very high speed game of roulette around this place. And 250 laps are going to mean the attrition level is probably going to be quite high over the course of this one, and you'll see it all live right here on Sim Speed TV. My name is Ryan Jones, and alongside me, as always, Justin Prince and Jay Kennedy behind the scenes on the cameras. Justin, we come from a short track in Richmond, and we head to this short track, but they are completely different ends of the spectrum almost, aren't they?
Yeah, Richmond, more of a rhythm track, more technical as described in terms of short track racing. But Bristol, while yes, you need to be on your marks, is one where it's momentum based. One where you have to be looking over the place as this race progresses because you're carrying so much speed around this concrete short track to try and make sure you keep track position. It's going to be very crucial to stay up the top line compared to Richmond, where the bottom line was key. And as well, there's a lot of chances for incidents. There's been several times in official races this week that there have been massive big ones on either end of the speedway.
Last week I spoke a lot about lap traffic being a factor. It wasn't quite as big of a factor as it could have been, but today, without a doubt, it can be just a handful of laps before the back of the field is caught by the front, and then things start to get very messy indeed. Qualifying is currently underway, and I'm amazed how many people have set qualifying times. 26! What is going on out there, Justin?
Well, it's called track position is very vital here at this track because, for one, you must be in the top half of the field essentially to have a pit stall on the front straightaway. And even though this is a single pit lane with that big blue line you see the bottom of 3 and 4, it's more crucial to have a stall on the front stretch and the back stretch since you can lose a ton of time by having a stall back there regardless of the pit stall layout. But as well, you stay up towards the front, you're less likely to be involved in lots of chaos tonight. And in several of the 8 opens and in some of the NISs, it's taken about up to even 5 restarts for a long run to start developing here. So it could be crucial for many of these competitors to have the early track position and then try and keep it to stay out of potential chaos that can happen all the way from as far back as 7th potentially.
I'm wondering if a lot of drivers setting times has set a chain reaction for other drivers, because Garrett Maines and Vicente Salas are coming out very late in the session to put their own markers down. Maines goes to 8th, and Salas is about to set another lap time here, which you'll hope is a lot better than his first as he crosses the stripe. He was running the top lane, as pretty much we expect, and he stays 26, so he's a little bit off the pace potentially. Garrett Maines stays in 8th, and in total 29 times have been set, 30 even, in a series where generally getting above 10 is good in qualifying, because people have often prioritized the long run over early track gains. But you're right, at Bristol, where going a lap down can come so quickly through no fault of your own. Being up front is very critical early on.
And it's also, mind you, too, finding that right balance to have that setup. That's why several of these big teams have spent several hours this week, potentially 3 to 5 per day, preparing for this. But now, I believe we're about to see which technical lines can do best, because I believe it's a 1, 2, 3, 4 for Nexus, in fact, Ryan.
Oh, is that all? Tucker Minter's on the pole, and Seth Knoll will start alongside him from the front row. Ossian Walsh has third. James Wenzel will start from 4th. Boyd Hogan and Brian Mercurio start 5th and 6th ahead of Patrick Moose and Garrett Maines. Rachel Hunt and Keith Bridgman line up from 9th and 10th.
11th spot tonight goes to Ashton Crowder, new team this week with Legacy Esports. He'll start alongside CJ LeVere with Brian Swafford in 13th, Sean Powell in 14th. Mike Bruno starts in P15. As mentioned, Phase 2 has been increasing their cup presence recently, with James Mullins in 16th. Tyler Justice starts in 17th alongside Justin Levine, who had a strong run at this track earlier this week in NIS competition on Thursday, with J.D. Willis and Alan Balacino rounding out your top 20.
21st goes the way of Kyle Myers. Pedro Mega will start from 22nd. Guy Sealer and Ty Polito 23rd and 24th. Jonathan Hernandez from 25th. Tanner Love, Vicente Salas, Michael Jeans, Curtis Sawyer, and Cecil Green. The rest of your top 30 and the last drivers to set times. The rest of the field is Matthew Benson, Jake Hickson, Cosmin, Johnny Balderidge, Ryan Carlisle, and Will Norton round out our field.
So a very stacked field and a very cool track, about 83 degrees Fahrenheit, that's 28 degrees Celsius, essentially for the air and the track. Low winds not expected to be a factor, but 250 miles, 250 laps, I should say, 129 miles, 208 kilometers around this track. It's going to be extremely quick. This is also going to be where tire strategy could be vital. Just 4 sets available in the pits, Ryan, and the fall-off can be fairly significant past 20 laps.
See the track temp there as well. Relatively cool. We are starting at about 7:45 in sim time. So we will be finishing well and truly under the lights. The lights are on now, but there is still a bit of blue sky to be seen overhead. As we roll off behind the pace car for our 2 pace laps here before we let them loose around the last great Coliseum. And passing here can be difficult, can't it, Justin?
Absolutely. If you have a good car, you can try and get it done on the bottom, but this is such a top dominant racetrack. It's one of the very few in all of iRacing at this point, where if you don't stay next to the wall for corner exit, even on Apex, you're likely being sent backwards. So in other words, it may be a free-for-all on these short runs, and then once we get a long run, you basically go into a good rhythm until you can build up enough momentum to try and make a pass on the bottom side if you can't peel someone off the wall.
Going down low has its risks, because if you can't get the move done and then the gap is filled up top, you can go a long way down the order before you get back in line. The iRacing.com Ford Mustang peels off, the green flag comes out, and we are racing today from Bristol Motor Speedway.
And what a launch by the Nexus cars, but just behind them, it's absolute pandemonium. These cars just did not get going at all,
Whoa,
and now
Walsh.
here they go.
Walsh loses it right in front of the field, and that has stacked up a lot of drivers. That's a lot of people out. On lap 1, Walsh got loose, and then the car snapped back to the right and straight back into traffic as they came out of turn, was it turn 2, Justin?
Turn 4, in fact, and that was one of the main concerns throughout the entire week, regardless of technical alliance. Several cars, if they're on the bottom on fresh tires, just absolutely spun it around like we've seen there. As mentioned, Walsh got loose, overcorrected up, collected some of your main contenders for tonight. Hogan, Mains, several others, now with significant damage and all that craziness.
Yep, Garrett Mains, Oshie and Walsh already out of this race. They've retired and left the server. Here's the replay. So, look for Oshie and Walsh in the number 18. He sort of triggered this crash, but then Garrett Mains was caught up as well. He mentioned they struggled to get going after the top two broke free there on the start.
Yes, and you're going to see it right there. Just starts to kick out, tries to get off the gas, but right there just snaps it too much. Walsh tries to back out from his mistake, but it's too late for the rest of the cars, as at least 8 competitors get some type of damage and all of that. That's not how you want this race to start.
No, it is certainly not. And so back under caution before we barely even got going. Trying to get another angle of it here thanks to Motum's simulation. Everyone else trying to get slowed up just started running into each other as well, didn't they?
Yeah, some of them even locked up the brakes, which can compound the issue, but I can tell you this. At least 2 or 3 of the drivers in all of that are going to be furious and are probably screaming on the radio right now within the respective team speaks and discords, because you expect 1 or 2 cars to spin maybe at the back of the field or even to the apron into the inside wall in the first lap. You don't expect a crash to take out several contenders and several of the mid-pack runners who have been known to be able to survive these races this quickly.
Mike Bruno, Jay Kickson, both on pit road as well. Johnny Baldridge. A name I didn't see earlier on that is in this race, Justin, is Ashton Crowder, who is a race winner in the NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series, and he survived lap 1, running in 23rd, started at 11th, so, well, lap 1 didn't exactly go his way, but he's still in this race.
Indeed. He, of course, actually was very, very strong in NIS on Thursday. 1-2 with Justin Levine, as talked about a bit. And already delayed yellow coming up here as several drivers are just trying to still sort each other out here. But many of the cars from many technical alliances, ERG with significant drivers with significant damage, like Hernandez and Rachel Hunt. Nexus with several other competitors collected, and then after one of their teammates with the snap. And then, of course, some of the Legacy Esports cars demolished and some of the Elliott Sauber machines. This race just got a little bit more intriguing here as all this as well, Tucker Minter's probably just thinking, at least I'm in the lead still.
Yeah, for now. That start was pretty good. Two cars breaking away, Tucker Minter and Seth Knoll, before the side-by-side and pretty much calamity behind them because the man that started third triggered that incident. So we'll stack them up and try it again. Tucker Minter will get to roll us off once more. Pace car peels away. Not quite there, that's turn 2. Both ends of the racetrack look quite similar from these camera shots, with grandstand all the way around the racetrack. This is turns 3 and 4. Pace car will peel off. Let's try this again on lap 8. We are going to go back green from Bristol. There it is, green flag back in the air.
An air decent launch for Tucker Minter, and several of these cars who avoided getting damaged, I think, have to make early moves here. They are not going to want to be held up in this case, but as expected, all the fast cars are already up to the top line trying to diamond 3 and 4 for momentum here.
Pretty sure I just visibly saw the illustration of caution being displayed through 1 and 2 there. There was absolutely no one within touching distance of anyone coming through the first lap, really, as they all made sure to actually get through there under green flag conditions, and the migration to the top of the racetrack begins as Curtis Sawyer finds a gap to slot into. So easy to kiss the fence on the right. Expect that most drivers probably will grab it at some point today as well, certainly as the run goes on.
Yeah, it's so easy for drivers to just miss their braking point, smash the wall, and crush in their front nose, but more so corner exit. Several incidents are involved where drivers are trying to keep it off the wall and snap loose, or just smack the wall and then pin bond into the cars on the inside if there's someone there. So there's just that fine line you have to be careful of if you're any competitor in this field here tonight.
Watching Brian Mercurio here, we're on board with him in fact, as CJ Lavere has settled into 5th place behind him, and now he sees the problem of this racetrack. He's +7 already, but how does he become +8? Well, somehow he's got to get closer to the back of Mercurio, and then find a way by him, and in fact the top 5 ran the low line. In fact, they all are. Running through the middle of the racetrack here, the top 5.
And as expected, as CJ Lavere nearly snapped it on the bottom side, Rachel Hunt forced to go to the bottom to avoid that, but here's the tough part now. If you've got damage, it's usually not a big deal, but if you've got motor damage, that's where it kills you on the long run specifically because of the lost amount of momentum and speed. So you have to be careful on making sure you don't smash your car in or smash the suspension in, because even a small bit of suspension damage that ends up crushing the toe in can in turn make it so much harder to actually turn the car off the corner and much more tighter.
Oh, and the understeer. Don't forget the understeer. Oh, caution's out on lap 19.
Boy, Patrick Moose. Yes, indeed. Rough race so far for some of the Nexus cars, to say the very least. He was towards the mid-pack before this.
Here's a replay. We'll see if we can grab this and see what's happened to Patrick Moose, as he was beneath, that looks like Pedro Mega, already missing the front end of his car. Did they come together?
Yep.
They did.
Exactly what I talked about. Some cars trying to avoid that wall and seeing it there. Sometimes they can just have that little bobble and snap towards the left side. That time it snapped into Patrick Moose as he was trying to avoid the outside. It seemed taking a little bit flatter exit. At this rate, though, if you've got no damage or minimal damage, the smart call at this point is stay out. Otherwise, you, well, as we've seen, are going to, 1, for lose set of tires, but 2, how are you going to plan yourself out on that? I expect damage repair to be the main thing, and topping off on fuel. That's about it at this point, with only 4 sets available, with so many laps.
Yeah. All right. So the understeer I mentioned right before that caution, if you get damage to the right front of your car, it could induce a lot of understeer into the corners.
Up. I mean, if it's just fender damage, you can get away with it at Bristol. If it was a mile and a half, you'd be a parachute. But you hit it hard enough to where it actually de-lines your steering, which I did actually do at one point in one of the races and knocked off the steering by about 3 to 6 degrees. It makes that steering much more heavier and in turn gives you several minutes of damage repair that at this track you might not have enough time to get fixed unless you have several cautions in this short period of time. So that's where that understeer comes into play, Ryan, if you hit the wall too many times.
Yeah, well, I mean, also, if you hit the right front, you're going to really crinkle it up, and aerodynamically, it's going to perform pretty terribly. And yes, it's a short track, but these cars are still carrying, well, in my opinion, a stupid amount of downforce for a short track. So, you know, it's still going to hurt you. And if you're running the top side, you will notice it coming out of the corners as well as you try to knock that fence down. And that can slow you up, and that can wear your tires out quicker as well, because you've got to put more steering input in to try and get it away from the fence, or it can slow you down if you don't want to wear your tires out. So there can be compounding effects that might not become overly visible until very late in the race, or never at all to people watching on from outside of the race car. As the lights go out on that pace car, and we are about to go back racing on the next lap. Pit window not open for quite some time. Expecting this to be a one stop?
For fuel, yes. For tires, depends on how many cautions there is, because it's rare to see green flag pit stops, we'll say that much here at Bristol. But it is doable, where if you risk it, you lose a couple laps if a caution comes out. So don't be surprised to see drivers wait it out and see how this plays out as these runs progress.
Back racing. If we get green flag pit stops, I would happily put a bet on a caution coming out in those stops, just because of how difficult it is to get to pit road. Here, at both ends of the racetrack, in fact.
Yep, best example, last year, Keegan Leahy in the Coke race, the first time at Bristol in a long time, he tried to pit, immediately caution came out within 2 laps while he was still in his pit box. You don't want to risk that even in NIS competition, or else you're likely not getting those laps back unless you get a lot of caution flags. But it looks like the bottom's starting to get rubbered in here because all the fast teams, remember, if you think back to the spring and think back to 2019, try to get this bottom to work because it helps save the tires more on the longer run. That's what some of these cars want to do here, like Mercurio, like the Nexus cars in front of them.
You can see just the Veen up top. He will make that move on Mercurio. And the caution will come out for the 3rd time today. On lap 29. That's for the 34, it seems, Ryan Carlisle.
Not happy on the radio in that Ford Mustang. Virginia Tech fan with the colors on that race car, but as you'll see in the mode simulation replay, a lot of tempers still flaring early on. This was at the back of the field, and oh look, Pedro nearby. Not a factor in this one because as this corner exit comes around, just right, gets a little bit dicey, to say the very least, especially with right there, actually, it was one of the Nexus cars. I believe that may have been Moose who gave a shot to Miga at the back end and put Miga into the wall.
Another angle of it here. You can see Carlisle trying to work that low line.
Already Miga's already lost his back bumper clip, but already much quicker. Moose already able to fix his front nose, but just a little tap on that entry, it seemed, pushed him right down into the wall and down the track into Carlisle. And Carlisle got the worst of that one, even more significant damage on that race car early still in this race.
The lucky dog did go to Patrick Moose and all of that. So he gets himself back onto the lead lap in 33rd position. So still plenty of cars running. JD Willis is 3 laps down. And honestly, not much damage to his car. So he should probably get back on the lead lap before the end of this race. This is probably one of the tracks where going multiple laps down isn't quite as day ending as it is literally anywhere else in the world. It still makes it difficult though.
Well, at this track, you expect at least 10 cars to be out of the race by the checker flag, potentially even half the field, which is a lot of race cars, let's put it that way, meaning if you're able to survive those laps, even if your lap's down, you can gain those spots and preserve I rating and get a respectable finish. So the smart call usually is tough it out as long as you don't have significant motor damage, because you may still have a shot to get on the lead lap and get valuable positions as more and more cars get bit by the attrition bug.
You can see going to the back of the train there, down low. That is the number 4 car with the end of the line. So he'll have a tough job to carve his way back up the order. That is JD Willis. And when you are a lap down, you do have to go to the back of the field, which does make getting back a lap pretty difficult, because you've got to pass about everyone to get there as the lights go out. And they were actually formed up already. I thought we were going back green that time, but we'll go back green this time. There has been pretty much no change at the front row. It's still Minter and it's still Noel on the front row. The spots behind them, though, are changing rapidly, and there are some big movers, even with the limited green flag running we've had. Levine into 4th from 18th. We've got Curtis Sawyer into 10th from 29th. Love from 26th to 11th. Just keep an eye on those guys to keep on working their way forwards. As Minter gets on that throttle, and the green flag will wave once more. Not a great restart for Seth Knoll. He's got Justin Levine all over his back bumper. Or rather, he did.
And that's the benefit of starting in the top here. It's the preferred line on these restarts. You can just carry so much more momentum. And it takes a couple laps at least for that bottom line to come in. So, if you're on the bottom and you don't find a hole quickly, you're likely to be getting freight trained like Wenzel just did to lose a couple spots.
Lucky for Wenzel, he can get up into line now, right in front of Brian Mercurio. Haven't got long enough into a run yet to see the back of the field start to interfere with the front. But we'll get there. I am pretty sure of that. I'm watching the battle. We're watching the battle just outside the top 10 now. Rachel Hunt is down low with Tyler Justice and Michael Jeans up top, and a bunch of drivers stacked up behind as well, just waiting to pounce on Rachel as she is stuck on that low line.
While the Elliott Seller Esports machines focus a lot on the Pro Series coming up. Of course, with Garrett Maines, Vicente Salas competing in Rallycross side of things, Road to Pro, where Maines is just outside the bubble after being in the 50s before. There's a lot of pressure for these organizations, so keep that in mind, where some of these cars are thinking championships, are thinking how are we going to plan things out for the next couple months for the Pro qualifiers. It's going to be a very, very busy winter time for some of these respective organizations.
I'll tell you what championship Garrett Maines is not thinking about, the NIS one, because he's got a frankly ridiculous lead on that. But if he does have a string of bad results, it could swing out of his favour, so he will probably want to come back stronger next week after an early retirement here.
Looking like Justin Levine, you've seen a little bit squirrely. That car starting to kick out a little bit in the back end. And that's one of the main things. Some drivers are being told push harder on the entry to save the tires. Others are trying to be more careful. But if you do it too careful, it actually, in theory, does burn out the rear a little bit more, because in turn, you think slow in, fast out. You hit the gas too hard, guess what? It chews up the right rear tire and makes it overheat and kills it. And the caution is now out because a couple cars are collected. Guy Sela, Jonathan Hernandez, and others.
Guy Sealer is up against the top of the racetrack, and he's having a hard time getting it going the right way, and he's now gone a lap down as a result. Banking of this racetrack makes life very difficult if you're stopped up against the fence.
Yeah, and I believe Tucker Miller didn't appreciate that as the race leader. Here's a look at the incident, though, because they're already a little bit squirrely up the road you've seen on the previous shot. But, as we've seen, things get dicey on the corner exits, and it got really dicey. Bridgman, a couple others collected. Carlisle again gets a shot. That started a couple car lanes up with someone coming up across somebody's nose, I believe.
I think Pedro Mega was in that one as well. Pedro is not having a good day today. He might hit the incident limit for too long. Through not much fault of his own. So
yeah, I think he thought there was going to be a hole right there, maybe. Just actually wiggled up there, and Pedro was, again, a quarter car length off the wall. That was just enough to trigger all this.
Pedro was down low, right there in that 31 car. He wasn't a part of it.
Yeah, that was Sean Powell, pardon me.
Yeah. I just highlighted Pedro because his car is very easy to spot, and I've spotted it in every single incident so far. That's the danger of being back in the pack. When an incident occurs, well, it's generally in front of you. And at a track this quick, you know about it very, very quickly indeed. I reckon he avoided getting contact on that one. As onto pit road comes Guy Sealer now, hoping to grab a new front bumper, but I reckon he'll have to go without. I wonder who got the lucky dog this time. There is only one car a lap down, so it should be JD Willis.
Yep. Only 2 laps down indeed. But here's something to keep in mind. Some cars have already had to pit. Tyler Justice is already up to 9th after that first lap big one. Had to repair 26 seconds of damage. What a job by him to get back up inside the top 10 after losing all that track position after, well, calamity happened. Some of the other cars, too, are up double-digit positions from their starting spots, like Love, Mayer, Salas, Hickson you've seen. Mullins as well has been coming in and out for some service still. There's still some respectable performances here, but I'm curious again how the tires are going to fare out because Mullins among those drivers who just took tires. Only this caution it looked like. With the fuel, of course.
On lap 49 of 250, the tank is about 130, I want to say.
I've actually seen 150 work, but here's the thing. That's on the bottom. 148-ish. Seen in the wintertime where some drivers got some testing with this car, and that was before they adjusted the fuel tanks just a little bit for this season. So, it is where you can make it maybe 150 give or take, but still, at this point, you're keeping as many tires as you can just in case. You want to keep this track position, if you're the 2 up front especially.
Well, let's see if they can keep it. Guess what? Tucker Benter's got the throttle down, and guess what? He's got a good restart again. Oh, and Seth Knowles following him.
Tucker Minter actually had a strong performance in the ERL recently in fixed competition at Richmond. Looking very strong momentum-wise, but yeah, as you can see, that momentum carrying drivers on the top, including Will Norton, a plus 30.
Not a bad effort indeed. I reckon we've only run about 30 green flag laps. Up into 7th, and running just in front of Tyler Justice, who's got CJ Levere down low. Alan Ballacino as well. Gonna go by Levere. It's just finding a gap in line was Ashton Crowder. Sliding up across the nose of Michael Jeans.
Splash and Go graphics designer and Cosmin Yoshino up on that top line as well. Now a member of Nexus Esports. He's been carrying a lot of momentum on the short tracks recently. And has been able to keep a nice clean car so far in that Kyle Busch throwback. But remember, some of your former pro drivers are still cutting their way up through this field like Crowder here.
Watching James Wenzel there in 4th. Demonstrating to us why the top line is preferred. Oh, and you're side by side as the caution comes out again.
I believe Sean Powell pulled the ejector cord just as he went around, and it was still enough, though, to trigger the caution flag because the 20 is no longer in the building. Well, reason being, he ended up actually getting contact down the straightaway, did a side slide without a front clip, mind you, after that previous caution, and then as he saved it, decided, you know what, I've had enough of a night. You're about to see this here on the shot down the backstretch. And right there.
Okay. Interesting. He was down on the apron as well. Alright. So back under caution. I'm watching to see who comes in. Tyler Justice has pulled the trigger. So has Crowder. Cosman stays out. No, Crowder aborts right at the last second. But 3 cars make the trip. And I think that's it.
Well, that's the first tire sets for some of these lead cars, and if not their second sets. So at this point, this is a potential play where you're hoping that there's still enough precautions, where you don't get enough long runs for the tire wear to really matter all too much on the difference, and get that equalization point within 15 laps. If we get a long run, though, those drivers are going to be forced to stay out who just came down. On the bright side, Jonathan Hernandez is your lucky dog this time, believe.
Yep. Gets himself back on the lead lap. Guys, CeeLo, JD Willis, Sean Powell, the 3 drivers 1 and then 2 and 2 laps down. In fact, Powell's not in the race, is he? So just CeeLo and Willis.
Give credit, though, for Tucker Minter. Good qualifying performance. Has gained a lot of momentum recently. He's been more and more well regarded for his setup building. As mentioned, got the chance to work with real world NASCAR drivers for NASCAR Happy Hour for the Daytona Road Course. He's been gaining a lot of momentum. This is all while currently at his college at the moment, trying to run on Wi-Fi and hope that things stay stable in that car.
Balancing priorities, and at the moment all the focus will be on this race right now that he's in, trying to figure out his strategy, making sure he nails this restart again. You can't be predictable on the restarts because eventually the guy on the outside will go with you, and then when they have the outside they will probably pass you.
Well, there's the Wi-Fi there with the Wendigo signal, but here's the thing that benefits him. He can give a count. And guess how many Nexus cars you have inside this top 5? 1, 2, 3, 4? You
5?
get to control the restart, essentially. Well, technically. Actually, 5 of the past 6. First 6 rounder. Only Lowline Racing's Mercurio is that outliner here, so all those cars around him is going to get a count and have the chance to try and pull away. Give a chance potentially for Wenzel to also get up to the top if he can nail it into turn 2.
They'll get a count in theory. As we go back green, and well, they all went at the same time, really. Even Mercurio.
Like I told him, as soon as we go at a certain point 2, if it's not a count, it can be somewhere as simple as I'm going as soon as I hit the yellow barrels, for example, or hit a specific mark on the line, or know when the pace car goes down. That time, fairly in sync. Mercurio, though, just with that top line, was able to still catch that 8 off guard. 2 teammates, though, are still scrapping a little bit here. Oh, well, Crowder is coming in quick.
Alan Ballacino up top, Norton down low, Crowder looking, finding no way. Don't take him 3 wide, please. On lap 64. See Crowder running the extreme low line there, wrapping around the bottom of the racetrack, but he's diving down there from the top side. And now he stays up top, so he's just hunting for grip and looking to find out and figure out a way by, which is probably going to be figuring out who's going to clear. Ballacino looks like he's going to be clearing Will Norton, and Crowder will try to follow him, just gets his nose in there.
open up at the right time, especially with James Mullins also closing in quickly, so he had to make a decision. Now, might be able to get some momentum back going, gain some more spots until potential attrition can set into place. But, still though, this has all been hurting Norton again because of where he started in the line, and now Crowder's trying to use that bottom to try and save the tires a bit.
Mercurio's lost out to James Wenzel, which looked like it actually happened with Wenzel down low. So now Mercurio is backed up into Balacino, and here comes James Mullins. Fresh tyres, thank you very much. This is the advantage they give, able to run the proverbial slower line when you're side by side and make it work with ease as he breezes by both Balacino and Mercurio. Even with that little bit of rear end damage, he's now up into P4.
Yeah, now as this all factors in, as you see Crowder just blow on by the O2 machine on the bottom, on the top line once again. The main thing is for Mullins, if he can get up to the race lead, the goal has to be simple. Lap as many cars as you can with those fresher tires, because the more drivers you pin down a lap, the more likely you're going to be able to hold track position if you're forced to stay out in the future, especially with everybody else likely going to have to come in for a pit stop if there's an error caution at any point now from this point on.
Always pushing, no matter where you are on the racetrack, always hunting for a way to improve your fortunes as we look at Mullins here. We should look behind him because Crowder just forced his way to the outside of Mercurio. He drove up around the outside of him into the entry of the corner. And now he's going to use that top side to get by him, and Will Norton's going to follow him. Balacino will be hoping to do so as well, but I reckon he's just struggling for a bit of pace compared to those two immediately in front. Mercurio could slide up, decides not to.
There's not enough space with the O2 just able to press the gas just to keep the quarter panel there, but at this point, Mercurio was sitting duck, his car just not rubbering in as much as he wanted to, I think, because you need to still get up to the wall to then in turn take the bottom line, and if your car gets you side by side, that's where you lose a lot of time. Still though, the race lead could change hands pretty soon. Mullins is within a couple car lengths of his teammate up towards the front.
Lapping about 0.2 of a lap quicker than Tucker Minter, which is more than enough to catch and pass him within the next 5 laps, and probably even sooner, unless he decides to sit and wait, which I wouldn't do, because as you mentioned, put as many cars a lap down as you can. To do that, he needs to get in front of Minter, and then run away, and go and pass those lapped cars. So, look for the move potentially in a minute, as Mullins' pace slows down by a fraction as he catches him, and now he's looking down low.
As expected, Minter might fight this a touch, but not too hard, because he knows he's on a different strategy at this point. Just needs to plant the center just like that. Now right on by. Now, just needs to start closing into the cars, because these two are among some of the quickest on the track in the 15.3s. For the fresher tires, the Warrenmore tires, 15.7s. Some of the air cars, though, are still hitting some 15.8s and 9s in significant traffic.
Yeah. Just panning through the field, I see a couple of 15.2s buried in the pack, such as CJ Levere, but they're not consistent. They're not able to do it lap after lap because of the incredible traffic they're in. Levere, for instance, running 20th, and they're side-by-side in front of him. Keith Bridgman as well, I think, putting in some semi-decent laps, but he's about to go a lap down, so might want to go a bit quicker than that.
And this is what I talked about, where at Richmond I mentioned tires equalize fairly quickly on the difference. Here, you feel like Superman. The thing is, there are so many people who can hold up your momentum where it just frustrates you, and this is where so many instances can come into play with the different tire strats is so many cars may just get ran over from behind, or just drivers misjudge one point or another. So this is where you need to be smart like a driver like CJ Levere. He is still among the top 10 drivers in tires used last caution. However, the next car's up for position. He still has to pass by some of them, while others like Brian Swafford are way up the road by at least a second or two from this group.
Lever was able to clear that big group of cars. Now he continues his run, putting in decent times when he can get some clean air. Brian Swafford up here in 10th position. Started this race from 13th, so he's been in and around here ever since the start. And just plugging along and about to get by Mercurio as well, who's really starting to fade as this run goes on.
See on screen, though, the lap traffic starting to come into play. This is some of the air cars involved in some of the damage as Johnny Baldridge trapped the wall. That's going to pin these cars one lap down. Now, first back he can go 28th if he ends up having to stay out on much older tires. But here's the error point, too. The longer this run goes, say we get to 80, 90 laps, eventually it's going to be a win-win because eventually he'll be able to come down with the others. Yes, he'd be down a set, but he'd be also in the spot where it wouldn't put you in too much of a pinch.
Once he starts to catch the traffic that is side by side, that's when things are going to be difficult for him, and he's got that issue with Pedro Mega, Levine, and Willis coming up in a minute.
See right there as Pedro Mega's been involved in a few incidents, unfortunate for him tonight. I think he's playing the smart thing though, just ride behind, wait to see how this goes. Both cars are still scrapping one another, just try and get your feet together and try and get your balance together. Now the tricky thing though is for Mullins, where these cars go, because as a driver, you want to have that predictability if you're the lead lap cars, right? You want to know, okay, I've got cars all lined up on the top, I'm going to ride the bottom. You don't want them staggered out, for example. That's where disaster can strike in turn.
And generally there's a bit of communication over the radio in iRacing between laps cars and the leaders as to where they want them to go. And a lot of laps cars are often courteous and asking the leaders, hey, where do you want us? And the leader will let them know, but sometimes it doesn't work out quite that nice. And for Mullins, he can afford to be a bit cautious because he's got a handy lead over Tucker Minter, 2.4 seconds, which is quite a big gap on a 15-second lap time. Is Will Norton has got his way by Ashton Crowder, or rather he's about to.
Here's the thing though, again, he's been trying the bottom line, but as the tires wear down, it gets more and more tricky, and you need to essentially, well, this can be an unpopular move, use the lap cars almost like a pick at sorts. Force the driver to either try and make it 3, or do the smarter thing of checking up. It looks like Norton trying to do exactly that. The problem is Baldridge not as quick on that top line I think he was wanting to.
Yeah. And he's almost got into the bumper of Crowder. Now he's got a nose to the inside. So Crowder's cleared Baldridge. He's able to go up top, and Norton will have to rethink his strategy there as they've both cleared that little group of lapped cars.
And the thing that Crowder's doing here that makes it so difficult for Norton to time this up is Crowder's not really getting away from the wall. He's double apexing it. If he, say, went up high then tried to diamond it a little bit for the exit, then Norton could probably try and pounce on the gas, and while it could risk him slamming the wall, of course, or getting too tight for it to work, if he can make it work on exit, take the spot. So that's why at this point he has to be so committed to either traffic holding up Crowder to where he can pounce, or trying to get this bottom to work to carry enough momentum by the time they get to the exit for him to try and slide up and get to the top. It's just not been working so far in this fight.
He might be thankful for a caution to come out, or the pit window to open up. Maybe he can go for an undercut strategy or something along those lines. Just keeping one eye on our leader as well as he navigates more and more lap traffic. We've all been rather courteous so far, even as he's caught side-by-side battles. They've got themselves single file for him. As Kyle Myers just went very slow up against the safer barrier.
And he's already lapped himself to about 20th or so on the racetrack. And again, some of those cars up the road, if lap 1, turn 4 doesn't happen, they're likely one of the contending cars, if not several of the contending cars, fighting up towards the front with Minter and company. Instead, they're stuck where they're at this moment for a long, long time potentially in this one until some attrition come into play. That's the tough part for them. Still, that scrap is getting to the point where CJ Oliveira, we mentioned him on fresher tires, he's flying. He was actually quicker than Swafford. He's now the third fastest car on freshest tires, or fresher tires rather.
Remember, he was back in the 20s when we first picked him up, buried in traffic, doing a good job to work his way forward. As Patrick Moose just went a lap down. Remember, he had a lucky dog earlier on. He's going to need that again, probably, to get himself back into lead group contention. Boyd Hogan about to go a lap down. He has now. So now just 19 cars on the lead lap.
Smartly let him go there as we take a look at Curtis Sawyer. Just recently got back on the racetrack. One of the main people involved in Legacy Esports. Definitely someone who is wanting to get back into rhythm of things. And here's the thing. When you take even a couple weeks off the sim, it can take you at least a few days, even a week, to get a full sense of how things work again on the sim and get fully up to your true speed. So it can take time to get back to where you may have been, say, from the springtime with what we've seen from Sawyer, as he now is about to lose a lap along with Hickson.
How far can he go up the order? That's the question here. You would say maybe the top 15 are all safe. But Jonathan Hernandez and Mike Bruno are not that far away from going a lap down.
Honestly, depends on traffic management and how cars are once they're in clean space. Cars like Hernandez, they're going to probably lose a couple laps during these runs. These are not the things they want to see. For the cars with minimal to no damage, they're probably going to get maybe at this rate to the top to just about maybe 12th or 13th. So it's been crazy though how much time Mercurio has lost in this run. This car has fallen off a cliff after being so good in the first 50 laps or so.
Hey, did you see? Oh no, Mullins just got collected and there's a big wreck on the entry to the corner and Tucker Minter's got a piece of it as well.
Oh, and now he's got an extra shot there too. These are not going to be happy drivers. Wow. And that's one of the risks.
Sorry, Justin. I was just about to say, have you seen the time plummet on the left-hand side of the screen between first and second? Because Mullins was caught up behind the side-by-side battle. And then that happened.
Mike Bruno is the car who ends up triggering this, where he's trying to hit the gas to clear by Levine. He's already loose off of the backstretch. But in 3 and 4, where it's much more tighter a little bit, right there, just enough to where it snaps right into Mullins and stacks up all the several drivers who were candidates for Lucky Dog, collects the race leader, and damages several others. This is going to be very frustrating for every single one of these cars involved in this.
Collects the race leader, and then Tucker Minter had nowhere to go as well, and he got into him. But I reckon he might. No, he hasn't. I've just looked at his front end. So he's got big damage. Here's his view of this.
Yeah, and he tried to find the hole and just didn't open up where he needed it to go.
Just can't get the car slowed down quick enough.
Yeah, that's the thing with Bristol. You have half a second to react. And that's the track where I've seen 16 to 18 cars. In fact, whole entire fields get involved in incidents. That one is going to really sting. This opens up the window, but it also completely changes who has a shot at winning this race because so many cars have been involved with damage now.
Hey, you know what that is? That's the second race in a row the race leader's been taken out by a lapsed car.
Second and 3, if you consider Malik Ray at Darlington. Of course, Garrett Maines last week led every single lap. Even with the bump and run finish.
I forgot about that race.
Yeah, when I was... And I know he was very pumped up after that race and had put in a couple hours of work in preparation for tonight, so... But, honestly, This may open up the door for a Crowder or a Knoll to try and win this race. Even a Norden or Levere. That's how crazy this is about to get here. I'm curious though. If Wenzel can hold on to the lead in clean space since he's struggled on these starts on the bottom when behind other competitors, including his teammates.
So, see, a bunch of cars will stay out to get a free wave around here. They'll hope for a quick caution to come back out after we go back green, so they can get their fresh tyres. So James Wenzel, he pitted earlier this race, didn't he?
That's actually his first stint set. Here's the tough part. Justice burned at least another set there on that pit stop. Just about a majority of your top 10 actually was able to get there and had it play out to where they wanted to go with the longer run to get track position. So now we're about to see how they can fight on even tires. That's the main thing. And several of the cars who just got lapped just have to take a wave around to get back on the lead lap, or at least get one of them back here, and risk the old tires that are up to 70 laps old.
And you can make it home from here. So, no guarantee of stopping again in this race if we stay green. Back green we go. Wenzel gets away well, so does Knoll, but Tyler Justice went nowhere, and immediately Crowder and Norton dive to his inside and take him 3 wide through 1 and 2.
Don't know if I'd be too happy in that Phase 2 car by taking 3 wide, but as long as you keep the outside, I think you'll be okay. And on these short runs, that's the better line. The problem is, Crowder we've seen try and run on that bottom several times tonight and make it stick in some cases. Just not enough to laps yet to make it work around on the bottom side. Now into the rhythm they go.
Tyler Justice straight to the back bumper of Seth Knoll. Fastest lap as well. So he's got some pretty good pace in that car. And you can see Crowder looking down low as well. Wenzel is not pulling away from these guys at all.
And Brian Swafford apparently just got shuffled out to the very back of the field. We stay green, though, was able to save it. That could have been trouble. Take a look at him.
Already
He's now
a
stabilized the car. Yeah.
Cecil Green falls a lap down and forces all the lead lap cars to go down low. And remember those guys that stayed out to get the wave around? They're going to be so slow as well, aren't they? They need a caution, so they're going to go a lap down very quickly.
Yeah, and even then, it's not a guarantee if they're getting up the pace. Some of the cars without front clips are a full second off the pace at the moment. But for drivers like Mullins, well-respected setup builder, he's going to have to put his head down and hope that car has enough speed in it from so many hits. I don't know if that's going to be the case, but I think we've seen with the raw pace, at least from his teammates, that it's at least a top 10 car if he can get back up there. Same for Minter.
Guy Sealer goes a lap down as Wenzel, Knoll, and the rest go flying on by. We're on board with Tucker Minter back in 13th, the man that ran from the pole and led a lot of the early laps and was second comfortably, and now has damage to his car and as well and truly on the back foot. You would have to imagine.
Oh, change for the race lead. Wenzel got held up by traffic and the caution is out as Seth Knoll takes the lead. And that was just as Mullins at the same time as that apparently just got into the back end of another car.
So Seth Knoll takes the race lead away just in time. And that quick caution comes out to rescue a couple of the wave around drivers.
Yeah. To reverse that around, it was actually Matthew Benson, pardon me, in one of the Phase 2 cars who got into Mullins, who got loose and ran, and as he came back up the track, got snapped around. But here's that lead because the traffic was too wide. We mentioned if you get held up by it, it can be costly. Guess what? Wenzel got pinched down by his own teammates, mind you, and Knoll just said, you know what, I'm going to take it up the middle and just drive on by.
And now where was the caution come from? Is the other question.
Again, to repeat, it was Mullins who got hit from behind by Matthew Benson. Originally thought it was the other way around with the scoring, but when looking at it, Mullins got loose just as we were starting to show that and got hit from behind and hard at the outer end of the speedway. It'll be from that car behind. He's already getting a little loose because the quarter panel damage and as well just trying to run a lower line right there next time by in the outer end of the speedway at that same type of line just was enough to destabilize the car, slide him into the line of Benson, and in turn just got him collected in a couple others.
Tucker Minton, meanwhile, has come back to pit road. There's the replay, and there's the incident. James Mullins, his night continues to get worse. Boyd Hogan's on pit road as well. I imagine all those lapped cars coming back to pit road. Patrick Moose down there as well. Lap 133, so getting close to 100 to go. Seth Knoll has the lead, and James Wenzel's gone back to third here. Tyler Justice into second.
And at this point,
Justice was very, very quick. Certainly in those first couple laps off the restart. See if he can find that pace again, and he might get to the lead.
as mentioned, he's known for his experience in the Xfinity Series car, specifically one of the better drivers on that end, open competition-wise. But, again, like we've seen at Darlington, really darn quick. Now, it's going to be another test. Can he do it again with so many top drivers around him, a former pro behind him, and several drivers who are having their best performances in a while behind him as well, as we get the delayed green, because I believe a car blew up and another had to tow.
Yeah, damage will take its toll eventually. The engine will go pop if you keep running it for too long after you do damage it. Deprive it of air flow, and it will overheat. And that will be that. I think it was James Mullins who might have suffered the big pop.
I believe as well they were trying to still sort things out of the back of the field to prevent black flags from being sorted, and some drivers, their way of doing and handling that is, let's stop on the track, let everything cycle properly. I don't want a black flag. But have to give credit again to Oliveira and his performance tonight. We've seen him do well on some of the short tracks. We've seen him do well on some of the bigger tracks and short runs. Whatever that team did setup-wise, it's been working. They found something that makes that car mesh and keep up with the big teams this week.
All right, let's see how Seth Knoll can do from the race lead on this restart, and let's see if Justice can go with him as we go back green from Bristol. No, Justice cannot. That was a bad restart, much like the last one. But look for his pace to come back very rapidly here. There it is.
And right there, just able to pinch on down. And now if you're Justice, have to play fairly aggressive on the defense, especially with how things have been played by that 25 car tonight. Just have to make sure it doesn't hold you up too much. And for anyone else, again, get into a rhythm, get to the top line, and then try and get your sea legs together to try and get yourself to mid-run.
Crowder looking to the inside. He'll try to get a run off the exit of one of these corners. And when he feels he's got enough of a run, he will commit to the low line and try to carry the momentum through the corner to get enough of an overlap. And he might be able to clear Justice. Right there, he has a look. And caution comes out.
Oh, and it's an ugly one in the middle of the corner. Cecil Green, and I believe it may be Pedro again.
Guys see that may be involved as well, as Cecil Green gets it going in his 27 Chevy Camaro. So we'll grab a replay here and try to dissect what's unfolded. is the Modem Simulation replay. There's Cecil Green up top. Pedro Mega in front. Almost got a hit from behind.
We would be around this spot, if not next time by, where they're already getting tight right there. Gets to the quarter panel. Pedro doesn't realize it. Just couldn't avoid it in time to try and keep it off the 27, and they come hooked together and slap the wall all the way into turn 3.
Tough to call from that angle, but yeah, definitely coming together there. Maybe going for the same piece of real estate, which doesn't work. Anyway, so lap 141. This is caution number 5 or 6. And the pace car getting a good workout tonight at Bristol, as I think many would expect, as it always does, is getting back onto the lead lap. Kyle Myers, I tell you what, he's got very fortunate not to pick up any sort of incident point, because he was right next to that incident.
Yeah, now keep in mind, it's not a free-for-all in incident points for those watching. You get up to 17, Ryan, you're going to have to serve a penalty under green. A drive-through, essentially. You get DQ'd at 25. For these competitors, if you've been involved in 2 to 3 or 4 of them, you're eventually going to see drivers just have to duck down to the middle of the green flag runs and have to come down and serve penalties. You don't want that to happen if you in one incident, let alone 2. So it just adds an extra bit of cautiousness, Ryan. And, well, hope that you don't get involved again and again and again and again.
Pedro has been very unlucky today. I'm not even sure if that last incident was his fault or not. But he has been caught up in a few of them. And his incident count must be getting a little bit close.
But that's what I meant, though, at the same time. If you're not against the wall in the middle of the straightaway, or even on corner apex off, someone's going to try and get to your outside to the right quarter panel, and in turn, force you down to the middle and bottom line for corner entry the next time around. And in that case, it got that tight where Pedro seen the run and tried to get up there before then and mistimed it by about even just a half a second. That half a second is what, in turn, led to 2 demolished race cars.
You can be as careful as you like, but in the end, it all takes half a second for things to go wrong. And it might not even be a half-second misjudgment that you made that can send your night down to the toilet. Looking to come back green, just north of 100 laps left in this race. Seth Knoll gets away beautifully. That might be one of the best jumps we've seen tonight. And Ashton Crowder from 3rd, trying to take his 25 into 2nd. He does just that. And Crowder up to 2nd, highest he's been all night.
And whatever Just's been doing gear-wise, he needs to change it for the future here, because he's been bit on every single restart for the past 50 laps. Some drivers have tried at some cases first gear. Most do second. A couple try the 3rd gear to avoid tire spin. But here's the thing. If you're able to nail up that first gear specifically, you're able to launch yourself away, and in turn, that's what we've seen from Seth Knoll, just pulled off and quickly. The thing is, can he defend both of them trying the bottom line and trying to match line for line to save tires with one another?
Riding on board a little bit further back in the field to start the top 5. This is CJ Lavere running in 6th, and you can see all the different variations of lines being run are the 5 in front. In fact, I don't reckon those 5 are running the same line at all. You can see the leader running up the top, Crowder running a lane lower, Wenzel was down low, Justice was almost in the middle of the racetrack, and then Lavere is just hunting for any sort of space he can find, get a bit of air onto the front end of his car, help the downforce as Norton now looks low on Wenzel, but he's not got any sort of run to work with, and he's going to struggle to find grip down there unless Justice, has an issue, and Justice is having an issue. He's not that quick up top.
Yeah, that car's just not looking really good all of a sudden again. Wondering if there was the tire difference with the masking, etc. That car going backwards, but these two up at the front, very near identical. The difference is how they're driving the track. Caution is out though, again. This time, I believe Justin Levine amongst the cars involved.
And Tanner Love as well, very slow down towards the inside safer barrier and pit wall, and he escapes to pit road. Thanks to Modem Simulation, we can take a look at what's unfolded here. That's Tanner Love up top in the number 17. Justin Levine is in the 19 there, down low.
These two are teammates now as of the past couple weeks or so.
Sorry, this 13.
Either way. Yeah, right there. Just popped the motor in the middle of the corner, and just Levine got the worst of it there. You don't expect that to happen right in the middle of the corner exit when you're stabbing the gas.
No, you don't. You know what? Justin Levine's number 13 in iRacing, got number 9 with his custom paint scheme. So, love that. This is the replay from on board with him. There's nothing he can do. Absolutely nothing he could do, and he wouldn't have even known about that until there was already contact.
Probably already apologizing over the Discord right now after that one. And he only lost a couple spots in the process. He's still just in 26th position, but a couple tire gambles, and this was to be expected. Justice and Minter have both gambled and taken fresh tires under this caution flag to try what happened the last run, to try and win this race.
What about Tucker Minter then? We know he's got the pace. He put it on pole, but I just feel the damage he's picked up thanks to that incident earlier on is enough that he's not got a competitive car anymore.
I wouldn't say it's not competitive. It's just... Yep. I think the main concern is how it would be on equal tires, and as we've seen, he hasn't been able to get as quick as he was before through the field. Of course, with it being as tough the passing is as well, that's also been hampering him. So, again, why not? Try something different and hope that you can then, in turn, get through the field fairly quickly and then get the track position back to be able to get up towards the front. If we get another 50-lap run like we did where Mullins ran away before he got collected down the straightaway, that may be the winning move for your Justice or Minter. Because in turn, they can, in theory, have used up their final set of tires then, and everyone else, while having an extra set or two, will likely not pit from that point on.
All to play out in the next 90 or so laps at Bristol, getting down to that part in the race where the action ramps up and the incidents tend to ramp up, which there's not much room for the incidents to ramp up, is there, in this? But it's Bristol. Who knows what could happen if something unfolds at the front. A lot of people could be involved, as we've seen already in this race, so those guys at the front are going to be so careful not to get together. And Crowder from second, now with a golden chance to get by Seth Knoll and take the race lead away. Pace car going to dive down. Back green, and a very good restart from Crowder. They've all gone with Seth Knoll. He did not get away at all. And now he's on his outside, and Ashton Crowder trying to take it away. And they almost come together. Oh, they do touch. Crowder slides on the exit of 4. He catches it, but Will Norton's going to get to his inside now, and Nola's clear out front.
Oh, and he didn't. I don't think he liked being squeezed a little bit too much. Just a little bit of the tap. The car's okay, though. That's the main thing. Just has to get himself focused back up. You can rebound.
Yeah. Seth Knoll did not want to give Crowder any room up there. Didn't want to let him get the run. Wanted to squeeze him up against the fence and stop him from getting on the throttle. But, well, squeezed a bit too much.
Yeah.
So Crowder clears Norton and gets back into second now and will try to reset as Curtis Sawyer, further behind, is getting by Ballacino up top, and Tucker Minter as well as finding good pace.
Yes, you're seeing that right here. His fresher tires have blasted on forward. Justice was left in the dust. So now, this is the way he wants to try and get up towards the front. And I think, again, this may be a decent call if this works out. Right now, it's almost flowing back towards one of those longer run points of this race again, as long as he doesn't send it over aggressive like right there.
Ooh, that got a little bit tight, a little bit too close for comfort. No way to get by these guys, except maybe force it 3 wide, which isn't what he'll want to be doing. Now he gets by 1. Can he get by 2? CJ Levere, we know he's quick. Showed some very good pace in the middle stages of this race, but is there anything to match up to Tucker Minter? Doesn't look like it.
You're not going to match up on a difference of about 35, 40 laps in green flag run laps. Now the curious thing, what happens between these two, and in turn, what happens when Minter gets here? Because when Minter gets here, this may be the opportunity for Crowder to leapfrog Noel, and that may be what could be a difference for those two positions by the end of this race.
Any one of the top 5 could win this one. Minter is now 5th. In front of him, James Wenzel, Will Norton, then Crowder, then Noel, who leads the race. And Crowder is right there. Noel can't afford a mistake. He can't afford a slide. He can't afford to miss his braking point or his turn-in point. Can't afford a slip-up as he gets the power down, exiting these corners. Because I reckon Crowder's baiting him right now. He's so close, he could have a look, couldn't he?
I think Crowder's just a touch bit faster, too, as on top of that on corner exit. I think he's just trying to square things up, wait for his right spots, because, again, he knows Minter is now just about the next car behind him. And when Minter strikes, he can strike.
But he can't let Minter get by him, because then Minter's going to lead the race, and Crowder's still going to be second. He needs to be very smart if he's going to keep Minter behind and get by Noel here, but Minter, those fresh tyres are just working so well. A 15.3 for Crowder, a 15.13 for Tucker Minter. 2/10 quicker to either of the top 2. Try to defend this place. If they go low to defend, Minter will drive around the outside with ease. They go high to defend, Minter will drive to the inside. Just use the fresh tyre advantage, which is what he's doing now. It's the inside of Ashton Crowder for second place.
Crowder a little bit of a tiny squish on the first time. Now he's realized again, fresher tires. This may open the door for a chance to try and fall behind.
Yes, and Minter side by side now with Seth Noel, going to clear him. And Tucker Minter goes back to the front. And he leads lap 176. Crowder to the outside of Seth Noel. Couldn't quite keep the nose there on the exit.
Crowder, I think, is getting a little bit impatient there once again. Just a little bit tight. Or at least on the tighter-ish side compared to what the Nexus car is doing. But Justice, he's now getting held up by the same grouping of cars. He's tried every single line to get around some of these cars. Not been as efficient as Tucker Minter was.
There he is, running the number 4 car, looking high. Wenzel's running the low line. And I wonder if that's the line that Justice wants, but he's not able to get to it. Just needs to get to the right quarter panel. Wenzel's giving him the space now, and Justice will get there. But now where does he go? Because there's 2 cars right in front of him, and no gap to the inside. Go ahead.
If anything, he's getting boxed in here, and that's going to be extremely frustrating if you're Justice. He knows, again, he's on the fresher tires, but he can't get himself at least to the bottom to try and pass these guys unless Wenzel backs off, and Wenzel's not backing down.
Already a 1.6 second advantage for Minter. I think Crowder's backing up, trying to get a run on Noah, but he can't quite get it. And every time he backs up, It checks up Tyler Justice, who's finally able to clear Wenzel and goes to the low line. And this should allow him to make a relatively easy pass, but doesn't work out. So he's struggling down low.
Yeah, and this is not looking good if you're in this car. Just not enough rotation to be able to get it going like Minter has. So, have to be taking some notes if you're one of the setup builders for this team. But the fresher tires right there coming in a little bit. Just these cars not willing to give him the same slack that Minter got.
I don't think they cut Minter any slack. I just think Minter was so much quicker. Right now, Minter would have passed him with that low line. Justice is trying and trying, but he can't quite clear Crowder, and Crowder's into the bumper now for Steph. Will Norton has joined the picture as well. Wenzel is at the back of this group. And suddenly, Justice might lose a spot.
Yeah, this is not looking good again. He's got to be absolutely fuming a little bit here. He's actually, again, losing tons of time. Half a second a lap to Minter with all this.
Oh, Norton has cleared him, and Justice can't even go up behind him because Wenzel gets to his outside. So Justice really struggling. Those tyres not working for him like he would have wanted. He'll be frustrated by how easy it seemed for Tucker Minter to get by. So too will Ashton Crowder. Mercurio here in 8th. Valentino in 9th. They're side by side.
And this is all while the lucky dog, Justin Levine's trying to get as much time built up as he can. Remember, been involved in a couple incidents here and there. Still looks fairly decent though, but with how much damage there is, not going to be, I think, top 10 speed quite yet. Might be able to at least be the lucky dog if there's an error caution at the right time.
Well, he just passed top 10 cars, so he probably does have the pace, but he needs to get back on the lead lap. With Valentino and Mercurio still side by side behind Curtis Sawyer.
Here's the thing though, Justice on fresher tires, or I should rather say Levine on fresher tires, just has, again, that better cut to be able to pull away. But Norton's trying to get himself by these cars. He's now getting stuck, all while the lap traffic, well, this is about 18th. That would end up in turn taking a lucky dog spot away from Levine, and in turn start pinning more cars one lap down.
Pedro Omega right in front of Tucker Minter there. Pedro amazingly still only 1 lap down in this one, but he's about to go 2 down. Minter finding it maybe a little bit difficult to get by him down low. Now he finally does, just about, hasn't cleared. But it doesn't matter, he's got a 6.4 second advantage.
Yeah, this battle has just been going on and on and on, though, for about second on back of this ring. These cars, just no one giving each other slack again. The top line just carrying the momentum forward, and it seems, again, everyone feels like they're just boxed in. But at the same time, they're being smart about it. You don't want to just squeeze someone up into the wall or try and squeeze someone down towards the inside and in turn send them to the inside wall.
Justin Levine's fresh tyres just got up and passed Tyler Justice's fresh tyres. And Levine is in this group now. Wenzel, Norton, Crowder and Knoll. Who I reckon is the cork in the bottle here. I think all the cars behind him are quicker. They just can't get by. Justice is really fading now as well.
The call just has backfired for Justice, but again, don't blame Levine. Again, with already a couple of cars all lapped down in front of him, he has to keep on racing forward and get to them to have a shot at getting back in contention for this race. So, yes, it may be annoying to the lead cars, but he's running his own race, and his own race is essentially saying, just run in the bottom, run your own race, get to the next cars for position.
The bad news is 8 seconds up the road as Ray's got to get to Tucker Minter, who's putting cars a lap down. CJ Lavera in 15th is the first car a lap down now. Levine's 20th. Levine's the quickest car a lap down, but he's no longer the first. Tell you what, if this continues, I'd actually be a little bit worried if I'm Seth, Knoll, Crowder, Norton. Because Minter's pace is only getting better.
I mean, well, speaking of the devil, Rachel Hunt around for the caution flag, so just like that, all those worries just went right away because it's Bristol, baby. A caution's always around the corner at some point.
Well, that's the reset that everyone needed, unless you're Tucker Minter. He'll be ruining that caution, and they expect everyone to pit road for fresh rubber here, unless you're a lap down. You'll want to stay out for the wave round. So Rachel Hunt in the pink 33.
Actually just got up to a position battle a little bit up there, but scraped the wall. Teammate right behind, not able to check up in time, and pinballs right into the bottom of the racetrack. Minter definitely not going to be happy there because that doesn't happen. He likely laps the field on the fresher tires. Now, he's going to have to work for it.
So Minter turns left, leads the field to pit road. A lot of laps cars between him and second place, so he would have to have one of the worst pit stops of the season to lose the lead here. But it will be little consolation with everyone now getting a reset. Norton's pit lane, pit box, right at the front of the queue. He's already getting his service, while others still wait to get to their box on the back half of pit road.
Question's going to be which car route will be the first one out.
Minter.
Well, the second car, I should rather say.
It was, I think, 10 lapped cars, maybe a little bit less between himself and Seth Knoll.
If anything, he can actually fix some of the nose damage that he might not have had a chance to fix.
There he goes, out of pit road for Minter. Seth Knoll follows, Norton third, and then Ashton Crowder, Vicente Salas, and then James Wenzel. So Salas has popped up into the picture late on here. Haven't talked about him much today.
Yeah, he's been fairly quick. Quietly was starting to gain some time in that last run, so this is going to be a test for him, especially since, well, his left front fender, I should rather say, crushed in. His right front fender crushed in. His left rear quarter panel crushed in. And the back bumper has a little bit of a crinkle. So just about every corner's been hit today.
Did you say his left front rear quarter panel?
You know what I was saying.
Yeah. Short tracks, though. Damage on a short run is not going to be much of an issue. Any understeer or extra tyre wear he's going to get, not going to be much of a factor over the course of 45 laps. So I think he could be part of the picture here. Tuck him in so we know he's quick. How does his car stack up now that it's on the same tyres as those around? Can Ashton Crowder complete his race-long quest to get by Seth Knoll? Can Tyler Justice find the pace he's had in bursts today, convert it into a full stint? If he can, he could win the race. Pace car off. Let's go back racing. A good restart for Tucker Minter. 44 to go.
And your front runner started in first gear, listened on board with them all the way up inside the top 10. And that allowed that huge jump for the top two cars. Salas, though, already lost the top, though, believe, to Justice.
Justice driving to his outside off the exit of the corner. And now with the full overlap. Down the back straight, Justice clears him, and Salas now will be able to get up top. Ahead of Curtis Sawyer, if he's aggressive enough, and he is. Sawyer had to back out.
Still, though, not able to get clear by yet is Crowder here with Will Norton really trying to squeeze up. Use the middle line. force.
Noel. At the front, Seth Noel to the inside of Tucker Minter.
Oh, they're spinning in the corner. Salas is around. Caution.
Whoa, they wrecked as well. Will Norton got turned after the caution.
Wrecking everywhere. What in the world? Believe Curtis Sawyer and Vicente Salas both got loose. That triggered the caution, and then you mentioned that incident. Here's the look at that. It'll be the next time by around this racetrack, where that collected the O2 machine of Elicino as well.
That's Palacino at the back of the shot there. On the left. Ooh, that was the 14. Will be feeling a bit sheepish there. Triggered that without making contact with anyone. Will Norton, meanwhile, got, I think, squeezed the car on the outside of him, which turned him into the fence and ultimately around. I think that might have been James Wenzel. Yeah, it was. In fact, I think Wenzel got loose. Not Norton squeezing.
Look for all this too. At the back of the field, you also had Baldridge getting loose just as the caution started to get, well, developing. You had Kyle Mayers having to slam the brakes and instead into the door of Sawyer. And then I still want to take a look absolutely at that Norton situation, because those, again, fellow drivers fighting with one another where I don't think they realized the caution came out on the corner exit.
Cosmin... Did Cosmin get through that wreck? If he did he get through there spectacularly? Because he's had a few words to say over the chat. There's Norton's incident.
Yeah, Wenzel got definitely loose on the corner exit right into the door of the 25, but...
Go on board with Cosmin as they wrecks and the seas parted for him.
Taking a look at Johnny Baldridge first in all this. I believe here in one of the F5 cars. They actually started playing bumper cars with the aerodynamic machine on the top line, as well as the AR cars, and Baldridge actually just lost it. That car just, how it's been built, I think just too much speed overall. So, or rather I should say, just rolled over itself, so to speak, on the suspension on the corner entry, and in turn, just couldn't stick the corner.
Well, Seth Noel will be, I think, happy with the pace he was showing. Was almost had his nose ahead of Minter before the caution came out. So that looks like a really good battle when we go back green. Noel needs to get the restart though, because Minter's getting a couple laps by himself every restart.
It's going right in his lap. And while he is likely used the tire sets, we're at that point where I doubt we see really many people use them, except for maybe a couple outliers who want to try a last chance gamble. I don't know if there's going to be enough laps for even fresh tires to get up to the field. Here we go though. Nexus 1-2 again.
Crowder tried to time it. He didn't do it well. Minter gets away from Seth Noel, and Crowder just slides up into third ahead of Tyler Justice. And then side by side as down low, Cosmin tries to find a way through. Has to slot up to the top side.
When we already have cars spinning, I believe it may have been Jeans on the apron. There's the caution. Again, working right in Minter's favor with all of this. On the bright side, Vicente Salas had said on the radio 100 laps to go. He wanted to get food. He's now getting food. I don't think it was intentional here with this. Just, again, just snap corner exit for Michael Jeans.
But this late on, you're pushing so hard that it's so easy just to get it a little bit wrong. This is Cosman's view of that previous caution, by the way. And he picked up about 5 spots there.
C's just parted perfectly, didn't they? And that's usually the case when it comes to Cosman sometimes. They smile upon him. There's a reason at one time he actually won NIS Open at Dover. After some tire strategy, used the dirty air to his advantage back then in the high downforce package. That in turn was one of his biggest wins of his career so far back in 2019.
Could almost say Cosman's got some cosmic luck in that 24 car.
Yes, indeed.
Does anyone want fresh tires? Doesn't look like it. Regiland's going to get the lucky dog. Tucker Minter. I think things are just panning out for him right now. With these short runs, Noel's not getting any opportunity to work up a pass. Needs to build up to it, and he's not getting enough laps to do so. There's a couple cars come to pit road. A couple of the cars that are a lap down. No one from the lead, though.
Yeah, and plenty of these cars, too, have at least 2 sets of tires they didn't even use. So, I think one of the drivers that is really going to be having to think about this again is Crowder with how he's driven. Where I think he's got speed to try and run away. But, again, he just does not have the space so far needed to pass. And that's been the common thread. It's tough to pass at Bristol. It is. It's to the point where you almost have to wonder where the patience starts to wear away completely for some of these cars.
Yeah. At what point does Noel use the bumper, if at all? We saw it last week on the last lap. Michael Guest working the bumper of Garrett Maines on the last lap. Maines was still able to hold on, though. Surely, if Noel's still there, he'll have to use it when we get down to the final couple of laps.
I mean, at the same time, you have to ask, do you really want to have 2 of your best drivers and setup builders fight? If you're a team manager, no. So, yes, race for the win, but at the same time, do it smart.
Last week was a smart bump and run. That's the sort of bump and run that will be welcomed. You don't wreck him, move him out of the way. Well, let's see how it pans out. Tucker Minter goes back racing, and Seth Knoll goes back racing a bit slower. Ashton Crowder might clear him. Gets to his inside.
Just can't round it down. And again, Crowder trying to go right to the middle. Actually, nearly squished him.
Crowder into second place. Now can he run down the race leader, Tucker Minter? No team orders there, that's for sure. Noel trying to fight back with him. Just not quite finding the run he needed to get that one working.
Meanwhile, Tyler Justice, who's still in the top 5, mind you, has smacked the wall twice in the past 3 laps. His car going backwards, while Crowder, I think he's ready to try and get towards this quarter panel. A new fastest lap of the race. The first time anyone's hit the 5s tonight.
Tucker Minter's got to be worried now. Crowder's starting to run him down. He was quicker by only a fraction on the last lap. Couldn't keep that pace up.
And I think at this point, you know you have a couple cracks at it. You know Crowder as well has been able to guess the exact count a couple times on some of those cars. The matter is, do you want to try and take the gap now? Or do you want to try and plot things up for the closing stages where it can be too late to fight back? That comes down to what these two want this race to go down to. Majority of the top 5, all Nexus. You have a Legacy Esports and a Phase 2 car in that top 5 as well.
Minter's running the middle line, and I don't think it's as quick as the line that Crowder's running. It's certainly opening up the window for Crowder to get to his right rear off the corner exits.
But it's also not completely to the bottom where Crowder can just plow on by unless he really risks it. Here we go.
Crowder to his back bumper. Doesn't use it though. Doesn't go low. He's got to wait and do this right. Can't afford to waste laps running side by side with him.
He's doing what he did before, backing it up. It's worked a couple times. But it might come down to a bit of a squeeze once again. Not a bump, a bit of a squeeze to try and get Minter to let off the gas on Apex.
$16 to go. In Bristol. And it is Tucker Minter versus Ashton Crowder out front. Seth Knoll watching in third, hoping to pick up the pieces. Fourth place is Will Norton. Tyler Justice in fifth has got a lot of company behind him. But all eyes to the front.
These two are the fastest cars on the racetrack, by the way. 15 flats. A lot of the air cars in the 15 ones and twos. They, along with Seth Knoll, have been the quickest drivers all night, and I think Crowder's starting to build up an hour run for a chance to try and send it up high if he can, if not diamond it off.
I think Crowder thought he had an opportunity there. He gassed it up mid-corner. Almost ended up in the right rear of Minter and had to back out of it. That's cost him a couple of tenths.
It's a move I would try to do honestly as well, but he's still got some time, has a couple more moves to go as long as this stays green.
At what point does Crowder lose his patience and go for the big lunge into the bumper to the inside, trying to pull a slide job maybe? There's a few different ways he could do this. I think cleanly is one of the ways that is starting to look less and less likely, because we've actually seen it against a few different drivers tonight. Crowder can't seem to get past.
I think you want to do it at least on the last lap. You don't want to do it where you give your opponent enough time to give the favor back, so to speak, if you do elect to do that. That's why we've seen guests do it on right at the very end with the bump and run at Richmond. It might be that exact philosophy, maybe in 1 and 2. If it doesn't work there or get close enough there, do it in 3 and 4. I think he's just trying to cool down the tires a bit and then charge again with under 5 to go for an Arsene.
They've got a second in hand over the battle for third. Nolan Norton. Norton looking to his inside. They're side by side now for P3. But Noel with the preferred line up top, and look behind. Out the gaggle. That went for fifth. Tyler Justice has got Mercurio down low. Levere, Cosmin, Levine and Wenzel all behind him. So Levine's got back to the top 10 here.
You mentioned it, you thought he had top 10 speed. Well, he proves me wrong right there. Things just boxed on in with Justice just falling right apart at the seams the second half of this race.
I don't think Crowder's got enough now. The gap's getting bigger with under 5 laps to go. Will it stay green with this mammoth battle for P5 though? Mercurio still can't clear him. What about right there? He does. Caution's out.
Jonathan Hernandez around the 19 machine. Guy Seal, I believe, is well involved. And now, oh boy, you better hope you have a tire set left or else you are in trouble.
Well, it's just got a lot more harder for Tyler Justice. He will be pretty unhappy about that.
Even more so maybe for Minter is right there. Checked up, was okay right there. Then you see the pushing, shoving. That's Norris. That's Willis rather. Trying to go around, and it's actually right up in front of them as well. The 29, Hernandez, gets hit on the afterthought as well on all of this. believe, again, that was 29 amongst all of that got shoved up the track in Brian Swafford.
So we go to the green-white checkered system. 3 attempts. Crowder looking like he wants to pit. Minter looking like he wants to stay out. Crowder gonna stay out. Everyone gonna stay out. No one wants to give away the track position. Unless you're James Wenzel.
Which, again, is not the surprise with Wenzel getting shuffled out. This is his one shot. But, again, you can argue for both cases. You don't want to end up coming down an in turn, going from second spot, let's say, all the way to 15th. You're not going to make up 15 spots in 2 laps unless you have, well, everybody lose talent at the same time. So now, it's going to come down to this. Minter on how he times up the start on old tires. Crowder on how he times up when the gas is pressed by the car inside. He's done it before. He might be able to do it again.
Just need the race to stay green for 15 seconds to get back to the white flag. Once we're on the white flag lap, it doesn't matter what happens. The race will finish under green. Even if the leaders wreck. Haven't seen that unfold yet on iRacing. But if a caution comes out before we get back to the white flag, we'll try it again. Up to 3 times. Still a couple laps left under the pace car. For Minter, I think all he has to do is just get away on the restart. Like he's been doing. He's generally been free for 2 laps then.
I think so too. If he gets the good launch, I think it's his race, as long as Crowder doesn't try and dive bomb it on the final lap. Keep in mind, though, you do technically have a bit fresher tires behind, like with Justin Levine and company. They might be able to get a couple more spots after so many incidents that they were involved in, that we were, again, seeing them with that damage. They may be able to steal away top 5 if they get enough laps here.
Yeah, Levine running an 8th after being a lap down, only a couple cautions ago. Was showing good pace, got the wave around. And now, up inside the top 10, but he's going to be too far back, I think, unless something major happens in front. Crowder's getting ready for the restart. He's hoping and praying he judges this and manages to guess when Minter's gone. This is it. Green-white checkered attempt number 1 from Bristol. And the NASCAR iRacing Series, it's Tucker Minter, the pole sitter, still out front. Pace car peels off, we go back green. It's a restart for Minter, and it's alright. He's going to have Crowder right with him, though, for the last 2 laps.
Don't know if Crowder's close enough yet, though, to try and make a pounce here. White flag, if the race is official, this is over.
White flag, one more time around. Minter's got about a car length in hand. Will Crowder for second place. Just one more quarter for Minter to navigate. Crowder goes low to cover off Norton. But Tucker Minter, from the front to the back to the front. Tucker Minter wins at Bristol.
Good win, great recovery, and cars have wrecked on the front stretch. I believe Carlisle and a couple others have wrecked as the fireworks go off on and off the track.
They were 3 wide for 5th coming to the line. Justice up top, Levine in the middle, and Mercurio down low. What a race, and what a finish, and what a good drive for Tucker Minter. After getting the damage early on in that incident, fighting back to stay on the lead lap, coming through the field. And ultimately, he walks away victorious after being the fastest driver at the very start of it all in qualifying. Here's your full results then. From a wild night at the last Great Coliseum. The winning margin, 0.2 of a second for Tucker Minter. Ashton Crowder will walk away with a second place finish. Will Norton in third, Seth Nolan fourth, and Tyler Justice fifth. Ryan Mercurio picks up sixth, CJ Lavere seventh, Ippolito in eighth, Cosmin ninth, and James Wenzel comes home in 10th.
11th spot tonight, Brian Swafford. What a recovery for Curtis Sawyer after getting hit in the door at one point even. 12th spot and one of his first NIS is back. Michael Jeanton, 13th position. Valacino in 14th. Rachel Hunt was a lucky dog at one point. Got through that Carnage mention to get all the way up to 15th. Among the cars who wrecked though towards the front stretch, Baldridge, Levine, and Carwile all had a crash coming to the checkered flag right before the start and finish line. Took them a few seconds to get going. That's why you see them 36 and 39 seconds behind your race winner for tonight's action. The rest of the top 20, Patrick Moose, Jake Hickson for one lap down.
JD Willis, Guy Steeler, Boyd Hogan, and Jonathan Hernandez are all a lap down as well. Then Mike Bruno 2 laps down. Pedro Mega 3 down. He had a rough day today. Kyle Myers 27th with 5 laps down. And then I think the rest of these are retirements. Keith Bridgman, Vicente Salas, Matthew Benson, Cecil Green, Tanner Love, James Mullins, Sean Powell, Garrett Maines, and Ossian Walsh. Their days ended so very early. And I think that Cosmin ended that race with a 0x to his name, which is remarkable for 250 laps at Bristol. Let's have a chat to our race winner then. Tucker Minter, you got it done at Bristol. It was a tough race for you, though. You got us there, Tucker?
Yeah, I've got you. Good.
Tough race at Bristol, man. You qualified fastest, but then you picked up some damage and an incident. You fought back well, though.
Yeah, I was incredibly frustrated after that incident with the lap car. I felt like I was holding back pace with James after he drove away on the new tires, but then I was really afraid that I was going to be stuck behind everybody with no horsepower from the nose damage. But all in all, we pulled it out.
How was the damage then? Was there any engine damage? Were you suffering from any sort of effects with understeer or something, or did you manage to get away with it?
Yeah, I was down 20 RPM and I had overheating problems. I had to take the tape down a little bit less than 10%. That really made it a little bit tighter. I was really on the edge with the tape, even leading there at the end when I had to run the top to hold off Ashton. I was overheating for like 10 laps. So it was pretty tense for a little bit there.
How was that battle then towards the end? Obviously, Ashton Crowder was right there with you and pushing you. You had challenges as well from Seth Knoll at one stage, but none of them could seem to get by you.
Yeah, I didn't really want any of the cautions there after I pitted when everybody else did, and I had that tire advantage. But luckily, the cautions kind of fell my way, so no one else got a tire advantage on me. Then at the end, I was trying to save my tires a little bit because I knew we were probably going to get a late race caution, and I didn't really want to pit. And then a whole bunch of other stuff, like I knew Ashton was falling off a little bit on the long run. But at the end, I couldn't really hold much back with Ashton running my bumper.
Hey, but you got it done. In the end, you walk away with the victory at Bristol. You got to be happy with that, and her pole position as well. It's a good day for you. Who do you want to thank for helping you get it done?
Yeah, it was a great race. I got to thank James Wenzel and everyone at Nexus. The setup was completely on rails. Got to thank my family, cousin Matt and Stuart. I don't know. I guess everyone at my college for not being on the Wi-Fi too bad, so my blinking wasn't terrible.
Hey, thank you very much, Justin. Tucker, sorry. Good job, and hopefully we'll see you next week.
Yep, have a good one.
Tucker Minter walks away with the race win, and Justin Prince is setting away with our second place getter, Ashton Crowder.
Yes, indeed. Ashton, first things first, P2 finish tonight. How does it feel to have this in one of your first broadcasted races in a while?
Can you hear me first?
Yes.
You can. That's amazing. Thank you. It's really cool. Obviously would have liked to win, but after everything that I've been through in the past, I don't know how many months, it's just been a really crappy year for me as a whole. It's cool to be able to kind of, I don't know, show that I'm not horrible like I've kind of thought that I am for ever since Auto Club, really, because with Coke when I was still able to run that. Our cars just weren't really that good, so constantly every week would have to think to myself, like, do I actually suck, or is it just the cars? And you never want to blame the cars, obviously. But it comes a point where, like, you're faster than your teammates, so, like, it must not be your driving, the least ego possible on that comment. But yeah, so to come in here and be able to run good, and really happy with that, and hopefully it can give us a solid base to work on, and maybe get a win next time. Who knows?
Want to ask you as well, though, with the battle for the race lead, because essentially, just noted actually in the interview, Minter was actually down 20 horsepower, down RPMs rather, throughout that final stint of the race after that calamity that happened on the longest run of the race. How difficult was it to try and get past, even though Minter was down on those RPMs and that little bit of speed?
Well, it would have been impossible to get past anyways, just because their car was just really, really good. I don't really race NIS too much, so I don't know how the Nexus Esports team is at other tracks, but I know here they are very, very quick. That probably stems a lot from the Nathan Lyon days. I don't know if they're still working with Dead Zone. I'm so out of the loop on this stuff, but Nathan Lyon had this place figured out, or still has this place figured out, and might come from that, who knows. But yeah, I wouldn't have been able to pass them. They were just way too quick, and they're good enough up here. They're not going to make mistakes. So I basically had to wall ride to get by them, and I think that's protestable, so I didn't.
Yeah, yep, it definitely 100% is in that regard, by the way. So, on the bright side, it's mile and a half racing next time, Las Vegas. Your thoughts going there? Will we see you on the track come next Friday?
If I make it into top split, I will be racing. I'm running on my second account because I don't want to tank the iRating on my other one because I have wreck a ton. But yeah, if I can make top split, I definitely will run. Las Vegas is not my best track. The tires don't really work for me there, just like they don't work for me here either. I still don't understand that. But hopefully we can make something happen. I'm on Legacy Esports now with Boyd Hogan. They're giving me a chance, and their cars are always great. So hopefully I can do it some justice next week.
Anyone you want to thank for your run tonight, then?
Yeah, for sure. Well, you guys for broadcasting this, because sorry, I just had somebody talk over all teams. That was crazy. But yeah, you guys for putting on the broadcast. It's really cool to be able to race something that people are watching again. It's really cool. Like I said, the boys back at the shop, Boyd Hogan, all of them. My grandmother and grandfather that are watching. Let's see who else. I don't know. Really, just everybody who has supported me through everything that's been going on. Because there's definitely been some really low points in the past couple of months. This past couple days actually have been pretty low for me. So just happy I can get a positive out of it somewhere, some way. And hopefully if they allow me to run pro, can get a good result there and get back into Coke. But it's all up in the air, so we'll just have to see. But yeah, just appreciate all those people a ton. They know who they are.
Thank you for the time. Congrats on the second.
Sure. Thank you.
A very honest Ashton Crowder, P2 tonight. Ryan, back over to you.
We'll finish it off here, and we'll have a chat to Will Norton, who comes home in third place after starting at the back, but he managed to get through the field pretty nicely today, Will.
Yeah, I started practicing a little bit before this race. I got home pretty late, so it was kind of tough to get used to everything. Decided I wouldn't qualify because of that. So I got through the field much faster than I thought. I guess that big wreck at the beginning kind of helped. But yeah, good. It's always fun going through the field. I enjoy it a lot.
Talk us through your race then. Obviously, plenty of cautions. Pit strategy was more in terms of taking tyres and pitting or not pitting under the cautions. You come third in the end. Do you feel like there was anything that you could have done to get higher up?
Not really. Most of the tire strategy is just trying to save a set for the end. So you saw a lot of us not pitting when normally we would have pit on that first run. But I felt like if it weren't for that thing that happened with James, it was kind of unfortunate, but that stuff happens. I felt like I could have had a better chance at running for second, if not a win. But yeah.
There was a stage in the race when all of you were just stuck behind Seth Knoll and Tucker Minter was running away. Hard to pass out there today. Was it more harder than usual, would you say?
Compared to the last tire, it's a lot harder. V6, we could run the bottom, save tires, and outdrive people, but you can now the line's kind of the middle if you want to save tires, middle bottom, but you just still can't pass anyone. It's rough. I think I spent most of the race right behind the bumper of Ashton, and I could not get enough of a run on him to actually pass him.
Yeah, it was certainly a trend that was reflected right across the field. Nonetheless, probably we did pass more cars than anyone else out there today in terms of start to finish, so still good. Still a very good result, and we look forward now to the next few races. You looking to come back and finish off the rest of the season here on a Friday night?
It really depends on my work schedule, but if I can, I will be.
All right, hey, we look forward to seeing you back whenever you can. Who do you want to thank for helping you get it done?
Gotta thank James Wenzel, Nexus. James built a very good set this week, as usual.
All right, hey, well, thank you very much, and good job today, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
That's Will Norton, third place tonight at Bristol. And with that, we'll wrap things up here on the iRacing Esports Network, presented by SimSpeed TV. Make sure to go and like SimSpeed on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter to stay up to date with all of our latest broadcasts across the week. And make sure to go like iRacing Esports Network and subscribe, as well, so you don't miss any of the action for tonight. From myself, Ryan Jones, and Justin Prince alongside me, Jake Kennedy behind the scenes. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got everything outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up to
Oh my god!
Oh.
Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Second very close. These guys I want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go.
Oh no!
That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my god.
No!